Okay, so now we're going to talk about this machine called the ticker timer. And this machine can create a dot model by allowing you to connect a piece of paper that's going to run through these two guides over here, the two silver guides. And as the paper gets pulled through, this little metal arm is going to leave a little series of dots. And I'm going to explain to you how the thing works. Now, it's not really that important because we're not going to ask you to write about it. It's not really an issue right now. The reason why I'm going to explain to you how it works, though, is because it is really important in any investigation or any kind of discussion that we understand how the equipment works, we understand what the limitations of the equipment is, and we understand like what the strengths of the equipment is. So I'm going to explain to you how the machine works, even though you won't ever be tested on it, and you're not going to be asked to repeat this. But you do want to be thinking about how is this thing making its measurements? How accurate is it? Is it valid to make the measurements in this way? So the way this device works is there's an electrical cable. So this is plugged in right now. I have it plugged in. If I were to turn it on, you'll hear it start to vibrate. Okay, and what it does is it takes advantage of our electrical system. So in the United States, we have an electrical system in which the current switches directions. So sometimes the current's going this way, and sometimes the current's going this way, and they keep making the current go back and forth. And it turns out they make it go back and forth 60 times every second. So that is really fast. So the electricity is going backwards and forwards very quickly inside of our electrical lines. And because this is connected to that electrical line, this small electromagnet that's connected underneath this metal tab right here begins to create a magnetic field that either pushes or pulls. So this little metal arm can move up or move down, and it's pulled or pushed by the electromagnet that's underneath it. So what's going to happen when I turn it on is the little metal arm is going to start to vibrate, and it vibrates at an incredibly precise tempo. So it's going to go off 60 times every second, or that is to say that the little arm will come down and hit that little block one time every 1/60th of a second. Now that's not going to leave the marks because of course you have to have something that's going to be able to leave the marks on the piece of paper. So this little circular piece over here that I'm spinning around is called a piece of carbon paper. So the carbon paper has essentially the same kind of thing that your pencil has on one side of it. On the other side is just kind of regular paper. It's facing towards the block right now. And what I'm going to eventually do is use this piece of paper. So I have long, long rolls of this paper. I have hundreds of meters of this piece of paper. And we're going to slide that piece of paper through. I'm going to bring it a little bit closer so you can see more clearly. There are two guides. So these two guides are going to help keep the paper so that it slides straight through the ticker timer. So we make sure that it's on the right part. And so if I slide that under, and then now what I want to do is go under that piece of carbon paper. And then I'll feed it through the other guide on the other side. Okay, so now I've got the piece of paper through there. The little piece of carbon paper is going to spin as the piece of paper pulls through, and this makes sure that we have a nice fresh piece of carbon paper so the dots don't fade out. Otherwise, if it just keeps hitting that carbon paper in the same spot, of course the carbon paper will wear out and it will no longer leave dots. So I'm going to show you just a sample of what the data looks like. I'm going to hold it really close to the camera. I'm going to go ahead and turn on the ticker timer right now, and let me show you what the dots look like. All right, so here we go, taking a look. I'm gonna try to hold it really close so you can see very clearly. So there's the beginning of it, is right here, this big blob of dots that you can see. And you can see as as I begin to pull, it's starting to speed up. So I see the dots are getting more and more widely spaced, and I see a long series of dots on this piece of paper. This just created a dot model of the motion of my hand, and I can go back now and start making measurements from this piece of paper. That's what we're gonna do in the constant velocity lab. So now you know how the equipment works. You have the basic premise of it. We'll explain a little bit more how we're gonna manage the data when we get to the constant velocity video.